everybody. It's Dr. Hank and it's Michelle Tanner. We call her Shel, and she's just the best. We're the authors of the book JoySex and a way to the 12 fun ways to enjoy sex. And last time we talked a little about, so this is different than the Master Heart family. It is about heart, though, and it's all about where, we consist of mind, body, and spirit, and all three interconnect with each other. And sex is the best way physically in order to actually improve our health. And so it's done, you can have sex of anything. I one partner previously that she just said, "Oh, it was only good to have that she would only have sex because it's good for her health." And I'm like, whatever, whatever, however you want to do it or think about it, whatever. But the reason why Shell and I have written this book. It was Shell's idea. She came up with it initially. She wanted to share her experiences with her partner, and so we got together, and I wanted to share about on how really that sex is. It's kind of like death. Death is a misunderstanding. Sex is a misunderstanding, and there is no death, and sex is good. As easy as that. So again, it's called Joy Sex, and you can get it on Amazon. And in fact, it's one of the top selling books that we have. And before Shell shares with us a few things, that I wanted to just read a couple of reviews. They're really incredible, the reviews that. One review is the tips to maintain a healthy sex life are great. Can't wait to try some of the positions suggested in the book. So we have the top positions, we have the top things to do, we have like the top vibrator that I've ever experienced is this little pink baby. And we don't make any money on whoever is selling this, but you can get it in the book. It shows where you can get it. So we have real practical things like use Astroglide, and especially on the bottom is it needs lubrication. Another quote, another testimonial. This book was really good. I couldn't put it down. Gave a lot of good advice and their experiences. Love trying to keep my marriage spicy. Very well written with a little heart there. And this idea that half of America is divorced. So those vows that we vowed till death do us part kind of went out the window. That's why maybe don't say that. It's not about death. Again, there is no death. But me being a mental scientist, behavioral psychologist, and helping thousands of people around the world, that the number one, there's two things that are toughest to talk about in any relationship, a partner relationship, is money and sex. And so this book really helps open that up. And then just the last one that I wanted to share with the last testimonial, that I loved everything about this book. Once you start reading it, you can't put it down. It's raw, oh yeah, honest and vulnerable. My husband also read it, and just a point about that we're mainly hearing from women about how great this is, and sometimes women saying, "Gee, I wish my partner, husband, whatever, girlfriend, whatever it is, whoever that is, that it surprises me on that the females are kind of like more interested in this, and it's always kind of considered in society that the males are always wanting sex or whatever. And but she said, here, my husband also read it and couldn't put it down. And that's great. So I would recommend for all of you women out there, have your husbands read this and vice versa. The tips are great and will definitely help spark some conversations that might have felt embarrassed about or just didn't know how to bring up to your significant other. And boy, haven't we had that where, gee, I wish, I could share this and I'm whatever. I'm horny that I want to try this, new orifice, whatever it be. And then it goes on 10-10, recommend to everybody, especially if you're in a relationship and want to change things up and make them better. And how beautiful that is. And now I'll read the quote, and then Shel, if you would comment then about all of this, but the other quote is, and Shel actually asked permission to be able to share this, that it says, after this woman read the book, she goes, "Hey, so I have to share with you. I keep going back to your book and rereading it. Let me tell you that I feel like I am 18 again and wanting sex all the time. LOL. Woohoo. And she goes, right, crazy. He even stepped up his game. So, the partner, the husband, whatever, stepped up his game. So with that, Shel, your thoughts on all of this?
It just makes me so happy, like it feels so good to be helping people in that aspect. Like because I've always loved sex. I've always like kind of been like the man in the relationship, like the misconception is that men want it all the time, and like their women won't give it up or whatever. No, it's always been vice versa in my relationships. I'm the one that can't get it enough. And it just makes me so happy that people are having these discussions that might have been embarrassing otherwise, because
Yeah.
I'll have talks with Joe, like not about sex, about anything, and if I might be a little hesitant to bring something up, I'll be like, hey, I read this, blah blah blah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to be able to bring up a subject
yeah,
that I might
yeah.
not feel
In
comfortable
this
bringing up. So
book.
yeah, yeah, so people can be like, hey, I just read this in this book, um
Right. Not me.
yeah. Like I do have such a great sex life, and
Yeah,
I just want everybody to feel this good all the time,
that's great. That's
I
great.
mean, we had sex this morning.
Yeah.
I
That-
I shaved down yonder last night, and he's getting ready to go to the gym, and I took my pants off and I was like, oh, just give it a little lick, just for a minute. And he's like, oh, right now I'm going to the gym. And I'm like, yes, just for a minute. And I looked at my watch and it was 11:11. And I'm all about the angel numbers, So I was like, you have to now.
Yeah.
Which led to more than just that, like we both
Yeah.
ended up getting off this morning before he went to the
Yeah.
gym. So
That's
I just,
great.
yeah. And I just feel
Yeah.
so good. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
I just love
but
your energy about that. Yeah.
the last book that you read, she went on to say that there needs to be a second book. Um,
Yes.
and so chapter 8 in the book talks about keeping track of your sex life, logging it. I don't know if you can
Hmm.
read that. And
Yeah.
I started keeping track of my sex life in October of 2019 because I
That's
was
great.
complaining that I wasn't getting it enough. And so just on the notes app in my phone, after we have sex, and I don't do it immediately after, it's not like,
Right.
thank you, grab my phone and start
Yeah.
typing,
Right. Right.
sometime usually within that day or the next day. And I try
Yeah.
and write down as much as I remember,
Hmm.
of how it got started and how we did it and what happened. And,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
and if anybody else was there. And,
Awesome.
and it's really fun to go back years later and read those entries. Um,
Wow.
yeah. And so you had mentioned like, oh, there's your second book. It was JoySex, the
Yeah.
erotic version or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's great because, already now you just introduced another, idea about like, oh, and who else was in the room or whatever. And again, it's not about, if you want to do that, but we do want to help you to expand your imagination that things are okay and that, things, did you have like a threesome then? And were you alluding to that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And was that with your girlfriend then?
One of them was with a girl that I met online,
Wow,
and
great.
we drove 5 hours to visit her and
Wow.
spent the
Was
weekend
it a
with.
great time?
It was fantastic. And
Wow.
the funny thing is on the way there, so we had been talking for months, and
Yeah.
on the way there, I was like, you are not putting your dick in her, like but I was the one that was wanting that. And I mean, we had sex so many times that weekend,
Wow.
her and him, the three of us, him and I,
Wow.
I mean, it was amazing.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is,
And
yeah, that is, yeah.
well, you have these like rules, but we didn't. Those went out the window.
Well, that's, I always say, like, invite your inner child every day. I do to, have fun, be more playful, and be more carefree. And really, these rules here, and that, it's just no big deal. And that, and our committee can start going in and saying, a bunch of, whatever. And, hey, Carolyn. Carolyn has joined us, and welcome. And that, yeah, we're actually there. Our girl is.
Hey, we were just talking about a threesome, Carolyn, and then you joined.
Oh, you can't hear.
You
Yeah.
manifested me. I'm floating in the pool. So
That's fantastic. Yeah, yeah. We were just talking about just some of the amazing um, testimonials that people have written on how it spiced up their, love life, and it's sometimes embarrassing, and how do you bring it up? And you can always use the book, The Joy Sex, to do it. And one comment Shell just brought up is that she's been logging in her experiences since 2019, her sexual experiences, to include, kind of what happened. And then also she said, and who was in the room. And I went, oh, and so I asked, oh, did you have a threesome, whatever? And she just described, an amazing experience with with another lady that was, there, and it was just, fun. So we talked about threesome, and then you hop on, Carolyn.
Perfect timing.
yeah, so don't think I want to do a threesome. That's not. And right now, I came on just to kind of support you, Shell, because I don't really have any sex going on in my life right now.
Well, I appreciate that, Carolyn, and I love you so much. Thank you for your support.
Oh, you're awesome. I love
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, that's just beautiful. I love that. That's great. Yeah, and so in fact, one chapter is on, called Log It, and to actually write it down and to reflect on that. I recommend that every day, like right before you go to bed, reflect on your day. You'll be amazed on how many wonderful things, if you direct it to your thoughts on what happened, good that I wanted today, what was the magic, what were the surprises today. You'll be amazed, what was the easy money that came today, whatever. In fact, Shell and I both talked about how we just both got easy money in different way, $500 each today. And we were texting each other because she said, I just got $500 out of the blue. And I said, oh, me too. It's
Yeah.
just like, use money, but to, actually to log it, and to write and get your thoughts around it, and what maybe you liked, didn't like, and have more clarity. Because again, we have been basically brought up that sex is a secret. We're not supposed to talk about it, not supposed to do anything, just her children. And then religion put, a big, because they wanted to control and everything. And so, you're not supposed to have sex till marriage. And that's funny because, half the people get divorced. And so then why, then, I'm
Well,
not married, then
yeah.
I never, and then people, realize, hey, this just is not. And again, it's a good way to be healthy. So good. Shel, do you any other thoughts or comments? Or
Well,
Carolyn, anything? Yeah. Mhm.
something that you
Go.
just said it kind of brought up a memory, like it reminded me of something, where you said like religion it was used to like kind of control whatever.
Mhm.
Um, you know, every high school always has like the slut, the
Yeah,
slutty
right.
girl,
Yeah.
where like that people are shaming you, like usually it's made up lies, you know what I mean? But I honestly
Right,
I
right.
think it's girls are just jealous,
Yeah.
and my
Oh, oh,
daughter was
oh.
recently called a slut by her kind of ex best friend's boyfriend. They're not
Mm,
real friends anymore. And
yeah.
I was like, I can't believe she's the one that, would call you that, because when they're a year apart. So when they were about 13, 14, there was an author that had come up to a local college up here. I cannot remember the author or the name of the book, but it was something about slut shaming.
Oh my
You know,
God.
yeah,
Wow.
and how you shouldn't do that, and gosh, it was so good. I'm gonna
Mhm.
have to see if I can find anything, remember
Yeah.
who that was or anything, because it was so good. And
Yeah.
those girls, they made fun of me, their whole teenage years, for bringing them to this when
Mhm.
they were 13 and 14 years old. But um, like slut shaming is a real problem,
Yeah.
especially in high schools. And
Yeah.
I always told Amy, like, which is my daughter,
Yeah.
like you're it doesn't make you a slut if you enjoy sex.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. See, we all enjoyed, so we're all sluts then, if you
Right.
will. And we're all experimenting. See, we're born into this experience with this body as virgins. Our souls aren't virgins, and we've been here a lot of times and whatever. But we are virgins. So it's all part of this growth expansion is to experiment, try things, and that's try whatever, on how relationships are, sex is, that, business, whatever it is. And so we're all experimenting. I remember, I think I shared in the last one, my first time having sex when I was 13 years old, I still couldn't come. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was with this girl and I poked it in and pumped it a few times, whatever. And I ran to the bathroom and I took a pee. Yeah, I didn't know. I really, I just didn't know, and she didn't know either. And I remember I was even thinking this morning about kind of like my past and upbringing. I remember my grandfather, and I bet I was 8 years old, and he was like a salesperson and went to different bars and sold mainly cigars. So he had like a small little truck with cigars in, and he would talk to them. And so these cigar companies would have posters of women, and this is back in whatever 1950s something, and so I mean they were, I don't think they even had bikinis on, they had a one piece or whatever. And I said, wow, those girls. And I was asking my grandfather something about the girls, and he goes, when you're older, you'll see why the girls are so special. And I think at that point, it piqued my curiosity. I knew there was something good about girls. I just didn't know what it was at the time, and so thus I was after it. I was after that. In fact, that's the other thing, is that as we're growing up, like, don't have sex. Well, anything we're told not to do, we want to go do, right? And so we actually, so what they were trying to prevent us from doing, which actually is just, fine. It doesn't have to be in marriage or whatever. It's all made up, on whatever you want to do, whatever your beliefs are. And it's fine, whatever your beliefs are, if you think you don't have to. But we know, and JoySex points out on the health benefits on this is just amazing. And it creates endorphins. That's the strongest drug. um, and nobody can make a better, more healthy drug for you because it's specific for you, and it's very healthy. And endorphins come when you climax. Oxytocin, which is kind of like oxy, that drug that was so bad, we actually make that drug, and what that does is it promotes emotional closeness. And so that's why we get so close. So when Jenny and I had sex this morning, and the reason why I didn't say make love per se is because she has, this terminal cancer now, and so she has some problems with her vagina and whatever, but not her clit. So she's using, this little guy on her clit, and then I'm rubbing her belly and her breasts and everything, and she comes and comes, and then she comes. I just want more. I want more. And is hugging me, and hanging on to me, to Junior. And it's just like, yeah, it's this closeness, and it's these, drugs and everything it has to do with drugs, but not in the drug world, what our bodies produce. And then prolactin it creates, and that's for satisfaction and relaxation, puts you in a state of allowing. So it's actually all spiritual functioning that is happening here, that is created, with sex. And so for us, and I really like this whole idea about using the book as an excuse to talk to, your partner to be, or whatever, to be able to start bringing this up. And so thoughts on all of that?
No, it all makes
Um,
a lot of sense for sure. Yeah. I was thinking in my family, yeah, it was the religion thing was a big thing. And even
Yeah,
within marriage, my poor mom, I mean, was raised to believe that it's not a good thing. It's only to procreate children. So she told
yeah,
us, which obviously was a lie, that she had sex 6 times because she has 6 children. And so that was, to her, it was a shame just to admit that she actually had a relationship with her own husband. And she
wow,
also said that she never had an orgasm her entire life. I mean, my mom's
yeah,
90 years old. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that, Mom.
yeah.
That's,
yeah,
that's a horrible
yeah,
thing. So, but
yeah.
yeah,
Isn't
so
that? And see, us guys have been brought up too. Like, there was never a mention of the word clitoris, nothing. I mean, I just figured that, hey, what you do is stick Junior in, and that gives a woman satisfaction. She's coming somehow. I don't know. And I didn't even know there's some above the vagina.
Right.
We're literally not told that. And
Mhm.
then, boy, did you hit it there, Carolyn, on, yeah, that, that this religion is brought up on that, you're in whatever, parents, it doesn't matter, that the fact is that we are given these thoughts about, and ideas and beliefs then about that, sex is bad. And that, and for your mother, like, oh my God, I never did climax and experience all that joy. That's why we call it joy sex, is that's what it is. And that reminds me of uh, that I remember my mother-in-law on my first marriage, that my mother-in-law, like, would teach her daughters, and my wife at the time, um, that, oh, like, and so she would talk about her sex relationship with their father, and say like, oh, he's not circumcised, so and he wants to have sex once in a while, and so he has to go wash himself out and often whatever, and there's disease and all this, and I mean it sounded like a clinical nightmare. Who the hell would want to have sex with, you got to wash it off and everything. And I'm sure, and I never got in this conversation, but I'm sure she never came either. She didn't like sex at all. And why? I'm sure he just put it in and that was it.
Yeah.
And then just one last thought about that I since this book came out, that I also have people who I guide, support, and love, and they've been really upfront with me now about and talking sex, and this one woman says, yeah, all the time in front of my husband, she doesn't tell anybody else, but like if a guy isn't showing a lot of courage, or it doesn't seem like a tough guy, whatever, she goes, oh, I bet that guy doesn't lick pussy. And it's like, like a He-Man, to lick pussy. And I'm sure my ex-father-in-law never did anything like that.
I'm sure my
And
father never did either. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I don't even if he wanted to, I don't think my mom would let him, because she would think that it was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I have two things. So I was in my mid-30s before I met Joe, and that's when I had my first like G-spot orgasm. I can give myself the clitoral ones all day long, and now that Joe taught me how, I can give myself a G-spot orgasm too. But when it is, like you said, it is just so peaceful, it feels so good, and it's in your stomach where you feel it. Like when it's that good, you could feel it in your stomach, and it's so amazing. So ladies, if you have not had a G-spot orgasm, get yourself a G-spot dildo. They make them special just to reach that spot.
Yeah. I don't have that one with me right now, but yeah. So can you just explain on so the a vagina G-spot is, can you explain kind of where it is, what you do in order to have that orgasm?
Well, you kind of have to the dildo that I have kind of curves up towards it. Yeah. And the best is when you can get the G-spot and the clitoral at the same time. That is just like heaven. And like the guys have to take their time though. Like you said, most of them just pump it in and out a few times and they're done. The guys, you gotta slow down and take your time if you want to. I mean, when Joe has me coming, I am in love with him for days. Like, I mean, not that I don't love him all the time, but I am just more like, I love you so much. You're so amazing. Because he makes me feel that good, and I've never had that before.
So is this without a vibrator, and that him?
Oh yeah, he can hit it. Yeah.
Okay, so he comes in, and then because he's moving around and grinding and pumping, but doing that for a long time, that you ultimately come that way. Another way is to use that, because believe me, the women are listening to this. That and so you put the G-spot vibrator, if you will, that kind of lifts up, and you put it in, and I'm going to guess, I don't know, 3 inches, 4 inches, and so and while you're thinking about that is, so you put that in and kind of rub it back and forth, but would it then, could I use this vibrator on the clit, or eat, or with the and so that way you can have both the vaginal orgasm with the G-spot and on your clit, and that goes to your tummy and makes you come like you've never come before.
Yes, and it makes you fall madly in love with whoever's doing it to you. Which is actually, it is in the book on my introduction section, where it talks about how he made me come, and I just fell madly in love with him, because I've been with a lot of a lot of men since I've been, I started having sex at the age of 14. And I
Yeah.
wasn't, 20 years late. It was a little over 20 years that I've been having sex and did not have that until him, because he takes his
Wow.
time. He,
Yeah.
like most guys, he actually, Joe texted me last week. He said, how long do you think our average sex, like time is or whatever, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, 20, 22 minutes. I don't know, maybe longer. I've never kept a timer
22
going,
minutes.
He said, I just read a study that it's like 3 to 7 minutes. Um,
Wow.
and I'm like, well, that's why women aren't satisfied, because the guys are finishing in 3 to 7 minutes.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And see, and it's not, I've always been a big believer about, it's really not about coming. I mean, that it's more about this happy journey.
Yeah.
And I teach to people on to have a happy ending. I'm talking about life, just in general. To have a happy ending, you need to have a happy journey, and this is all part of this. And this is this, foreplay, and what we're really kind of talking about here is to just, warm up and get things going, and then when things are going, that it's not about who can come first.
Right, right.
And with women, it's like, hey, they can come first because they can keep on coming.
Yeah.
And yeah, and which is for most men most of the time, that they can come like twice, whatever, but you got the woman really has to work that the second time, then, and warm up to that. So, and there's also the bottom uh, G spot. And in fact, I use that on Jenny this morning because, again, there were problems with the vagina. So I was on her clit and with this, and then a finger, and with the, the lotion, and slowly around the bottom and then in the bottom. And then I took it out, and I kind of know exactly how to do this now, with her. And took it out, and she's actually doing this because she knows best on what to do with the clit, but I can hear her and sense where she is. And then as I take it out, it's kind of like, oh no, I need it back in, and I put it back in, and she's just off and coming.
Mhm.
And so it is fun. Yeah, good, good. Other thoughts, comments?
Well, something else, I can't remember when I thought of this, but I remember I went to a Christian high school, and I remember one of the students getting kicked out of high school because they found out he had sex. Yeah. And
That is
I
amazing.
I remember like just being so upset and angry, and I was like, if they know how many of us have been having sex, we'd all be kicked out.
Yeah, we're spiritual human beings, we're sexual human beings, and I have people that say, hey, I'm not a spiritual human being, I don't believe in God, whatever. And then on the sex, they're just not going to talk about it. And they won't, and they won't, and that's why, again, to be able to read this and realize that, hey, this book that really helps to understand. And I love your chapter that you were referring to is called The Dirty Little Slut. And but we talk about first the history of sex and the top tens, and like on anal sex, people have been doing that for thousands of years, whatever that is, for birth control before the pill. And but then we have the dirty little slut, the dirty old man. That's kind of my section. The importance of sex. to share openly. And again, just one step at a time. It's not about sit around for 3 hours, but start to have dialogue about this. We all have different needs and desires, and males and females are differently, and you need to share what they want. We don't read minds. We can't read your mind on what you want next. So speak up. Talk about it. Admire the beauty in others. And so that's the other thing. I like Jenny, and Jenny has all kinds of boyfriends that she has. Let's see, the basketball player, pro basketball player, pro football player, the San Francisco 49ers quarterback. She goes, oh, my boyfriend's on, and it's all fine. I remember my first wife. I couldn't say like, wow, look at that, pretty woman on TV or what, it's like, hey, quit looking at it. But what the heck? And admire the beauty in yourself. And that's the other thing. We're perfect. However you are is perfect. I've had women that are really thin, but they would talk themselves into their fat because like in their thighs or whatever, and they'd show me, and they had eating disorders. And it's like, there's someone that loves you just the way you are. Loves all your fat or whatever it is. And so there's like this one actress I've always been impressed with. I don't recall her name, but that she's just this huge black lady, and she's just so confident, just running around and all happy, and you just love her. And it's because of what we think about ourselves is how other people think about us.
Yeah.
And so when we're just, open and we love ourselves, and that's a great thing to give to yourself every day, is to say to yourself, hey, I love you. I love me. And so I say that to me every day. Before I pray for anybody else, I got to pray for me first, because I can't give anything other than what I have to other people. So I pray for myself, and then I prayed actually for both of you this morning. And
it's like when
yeah,
they say if put an oxygen mask on, like if you're in a plane or whatever, you
yeah,
have to put it on yourself first before you put it on your child or anybody else that you're helping. Take care of you.
absolutely.
Mhm.
You bet, you bet. And then log it. And this idea about, writing it down. And Shel will have a second. I like your author t-shirt, by the way.
Thanks.
And Shel will have a second book. And on that, the next chapter is I touch myself. We all masturbate, and like nobody talks about it or whatever, or most masturbate. We should probably put in our parents and stuff. We're so locked into this is the devil, whatever. Give it a shot, make it a priority, don't schedule it, maintenance, and then bottoms up. And all about that. It's just one of the many ways that we can express joy and experience joy in our life is with and through sex, and why we call it JoySex. So we are intended to our soul's major a top priority is for us to experience joy in three ways: mentally, and spiritually, which means emotionally, and then also physically. And the best way to do it physically is with sex. So go out, have lots of sex, have fun, enjoy it. Whether it's with yourself or a partner or several people.
Yeah.
So with that, yeah, Carolyn.
Nope. Nope. That's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I
Well,
was just gonna say I've only had one partner in my life that actually really gave me really good joy sex. And
yeah,
that's the person that I'm talking to again right now, but we're not
yeah,
having sex because I want more in the relationship.
yeah,
And is if he gets that part of it, then he has no incentive to, fulfill the rest of it. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to navigate through that right now and figure out,
Mhm.
whether I'm just, am I overthinking it? Am I,
Yeah,
should I not worry about it because,
yeah,
am I pushing him into something? Because it's not so much that I have to be married, but it's like we've broken up 4 or 5 times, and this time it's been a year and a half. It was Valentine's Day, not this year, but the year before that we broke up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then, you know, so I don't, it's kind of a confusing thing for me because,
Yeah.
but the main reason, this sounds kind of silly, but the main reason is I don't want to go to my family again and go, oh, he's back, because they just kind of,
Yeah.
almost.
Carolyn, you know that committee is getting in there when you think like that.
Yeah, possibly.
Also,
We don't care what
be-
other people think, but
before
I
Dr.
get
Hank,
you.
before you give your advice, I just want to say my thought, Carolyn, is don't you deprive yourself of that good sex, girl.
And well, I know, but the problem is it's not so much depriving myself, is that when we did it before, sex was great, but there was other things that were missing, and then, and once I give myself to him, I am a serially monogamous person. I'm not going to be going
Yeah.
anywhere else. And so I wasn't happy with it. I mean, I was happy
Yeah.
for a while, and there were times when we had like really wonderful sex, and I was like, wow, I never thought that I could actually love somebody as much. But even beyond the sex, like
Yeah.
now just talking to him, and like now we're like really creating a friendship because we've pulled
Mhm.
sex off. And so at least for right now, that's what
Yeah.
I feel like I need to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, I want him. That's the bad thing, is like I really want him, and I'm literally saying no, even though
Yeah.
I want to say yes, but for
Right.
different reasons. So yeah, so I would love your advice on that.
Yeah, well, Carolyn, we've talked a little about this before, and him, and for sure that whatever you want, it feels good. You're lining up with God, with your higher power, and so to have sex with him, the committee puts in these things on. Hey, he's got to travel a lot, and he's got to, blah blah blah, all the things that you want, and actually, what our relationships are about is not only to have this togetherness, such as having sex, but also the contrast. And so we're different. That Ginny loves to be in the garden. And I love looking at the garden, but not planting it and doing all this stuff and getting hot and sweaty and dirty. So we do our own thing. And we'll do TV programs, and I'm just giving you some examples here on that, a TV, she likes this one TV program. She watches that in the afternoon because I'm not around, if you will. And at night, she, watches what I want. And, some of it's okay. Some of it she probably would never turn it on. And so there is that contrast, and that is so, and I know you want other things, but actually other people can have those other things. So provide those other things. So you can have sex, monogamous, one person, but still be able to do, other things. Like if you want to travel, and again, I get it, you want it all. That you want, hey, I want this guy to like everything that I like, and it just
No,
you
actually,
take it.
we've
Yeah,
actually sorted through the travel thing, so
that's
that
cool.
I'll still travel. I'll just travel with my girlfriends, or I'll travel.
Yeah.
And he'll do some traveling with me as long as hunting is involved or animals. He'll go to Alaska, or go on a safari
Yeah.
in Africa or
Yeah.
something. But
Cool.
certain things.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
so we've
So
we've
I would
actually
just
worked
move
through that
forward
part of
with
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, he has satisfied you in a way that, like, hey, if you can find anybody that can satisfy you in any way, then, I want them around.
Well, and I think that's one
Yeah.
of the main reasons why nothing else works with anybody else, because it's just like it still goes back to comparisons, and nobody can compare. And he's
Right.
still a very compassionate, loving. I know he's still the executor of my will. I mean, I know that whether I'm with him or not with him, he's always there
Yeah.
for me whenever I need him. And that's what he always brings
know,
up. And I am, and
see,
he's the only person in my life that's always, so.
So to me, it's just hands down, this is a no-brainer. The guy cares about you. The guy loves you. You have great sex with him. That like, hey, that's great. You're not going to get everything. And it's purposely made this way for us people, our relationships, to have this contrast, to have these differences. He likes to hunt. You don't. You like to travel. He doesn't unless Sunday. That, it's no big deal. And so you're not going to like everything. My brothers hunt, and their wives, and they hate it all the time. They're gone the day after Thanksgiving because it's deer hunting, and they're gone hunting, most of the free time they're hunting. And but they love each other, and the wives don't like hunting, aren't going to be part of it, don't like that they're away. So I mean, really, there's a lot of time that they could be where the wives say, hey, I don't like it. My brothers say they do, and so it is.
Yeah.
And but we'll talk more about that. But just be happy that you got somebody that cares for you, and that you have great sex with. Because most people don't have those two things with one person. So,
Yeah.
and again, we'll talk about that later on that. So with that, any other thoughts, comments about joy sex and how you can have better sex with yourself or with others? It's healthy for you, and it's healthy for relationships, and it's a way to have fun and take the committee member about, oh, it's bad or wrong, or they're just using me, and just forget that. In fact, I just had a lady the other day call me and say, oh, and my boyfriend's all mad at me, and he's accusing me of that I only want him because of sex. I'm thinking, this is just a complete opposite that I typically hear, is that the woman is complaining, and here she's, outright just telling me, about that. And so know that all is well, and that it's just another way for us to have joy in our life, and that is with sex. And with that, I thank you so much, Carolyn. Thank you for joining us. Shel, you're amazing. And if you want to get a hold of us, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything, get a hold of Shel or I, and we'll be happy to guide you along to your joy. And with that, we love you all. Take care.
Bye.